I'd
right.
like to call to order the meeting of the Rules Policy and Industrial Relations Committee uh, for today, April 28, 2023. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start with Director Conroy. He's absent. Director Grossbull.
Here.
Director Hill.
Here.
Director Maston is absent. Director Parr is absent. Vice Chair Garbarino.
Here.
Chair Hernandez.
Here.
And President Terrio.
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum, but also in the room you have Directors Cochran, Giudice, Rabbit. Welcome, Director Rabbit.
Very good.
And Thier. So you are not a committee of the whole yet. I'll let you know you're still a committee.
Thank you very much. Today we have one item. We have a report on a memorandum of understanding with the Marin Community College District for the Golden Gate Bus Operator Apprenticeship Program. And I believe Mona is here. Yes, good morning, Mona, our Deputy General Manager of the Bus Division, to present this item for us today.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm here today for a couple reasons. One, as the agenda says, I would like to highlight a couple things about the memorandum of understanding that we're entering into with the College of Marin to expand our DOL, our Federal Department of Labor Bus Operator Apprenticeship Program, to allow our bus operator trainees or apprentices to earn college credit as they complete their training program. And I also want to go over or provide an overview of the partnerships that we've established, not only with the College of Marin, but also with the Santa Rosa Junior College to support our efforts around recruiting and retaining bus operator talent. And so, Madam Chair, I'd like to start with the latter, if you don't mind. And in that case, if the committee members wouldn't mind going to the attachment in the board report. We can start with that, and then I'll tie back to the memorandum of understanding. So I'll give you guys a minute to pull that out. So on the we'll go to page 2. Page 2 talks about the background of Golden Gate Transit, and I'll touch on that really quickly. So as you all know, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the service that we operate today looks very different from what it did before the pandemic. When the pandemic started, we saw a lot of our commuter riders work from home or work hybrid schedules. And that led to a very large drop in our commute ridership. And as a result, we have suspended close to 90% of the commute routes that we operated before COVID. So we just operate about a handful of our commute routes. We operate the 114 out of Mill Valley. We operate the 132 out of San Anselmo. We operate the 152 out of Novato, and we also operate the 172 out of Petaluma. So we operate some, but not a whole lot. Really, it's driven by the demand that we're seeing across the bridge and into San Francisco. Really, that's the driving factor behind the commute service that we operate. On the other hand, we're operating about 85% of the regional routes that we operated before COVID. And that's because that's where we're seeing a lot of our ridership. Those are the folks who operate every day or ride the bus every day, all day long. They depend on those routes to meet basic life needs like going to the hospital, going to school, going to frontline jobs. So we have put back or actually not suspended the majority of that service that we operated before COVID. But now we're in a place where we want to position the agency to grow even further. When you combine the commute routes and the regional routes that we are operating today, we're only operating about half of what we did before COVID. We want to grow back to where we were before COVID. So we're taking steps to do that by actively recruiting, and doing what we can to retain the operators that we have right now. If you don't mind, I'm going to grab my water. And so like other agencies across the country, though, we're seeing that we're seeing some challenges with recruiting. We're not seeing the numbers of applications that we used to see years before. Years before, we would see hundreds of applications coming in. We're not seeing those numbers anymore. We're seeing numbers that fall below 100. So we have to work a little harder to try and find talent. And that's the reason why we've entered into those partnerships with both colleges, the Santa Rosa Junior College and the College of Marin. So if we go to page 3, I'm going to talk about our labor management partnership with the ATU Local 1575. Really, none of the work that we are doing with the colleges would be possible without that partnership with ATU Local 1575. And that partnership internally is what we call the Workforce Investment Network Partnership, or WIN. So we fondly call it WIN. And that is the forum through which we manage our bus operator mentor program, which is a key component of making sure that the apprenticeship programs work. We rely heavily on our mentors to help shape curriculum and provide the expertise that we need to build talent and support the talent that we have within. And they also play an active role in helping us get the 2 programs off the ground with the college. And it was through this forum that we started to ask questions, real pointed questions about why we're having challenges with recruitment and retention. And so that's been very special. That's one of the more special parts of the WIN partnership is it creates this collaborative forum where labor and management, we come together and we problem solve. And in this case, we're trying to solve a problem that is very important to both of us. And it's the problem of trying to grow our workforce. They want to grow the workforce. We want to grow the workforce so we can grow our service and provide a higher level of service for our communities, all of the communities that you serve. And so through this forum, we started to, talk about data. I worked with our human resources department, and I also want to give kudos to Kelly and her staff in the human resources department. They've played a really critical role in helping us kind of, research the data and research and come up with creative solutions around how we deal with employment barriers. But when we looked at the data, what we found was we had a problem with the front door, essentially. People were having a hard time getting through that front door. Essentially, they were having a hard time getting through the application process. What we found when we went back to 2018 and 2019 hiring data was that close to 70% of people who started the application process either didn't or couldn't complete the application process. So we started to dig into that a little bit more. And we also found that there were a lot of people of color. They were really the folks who could not get through the application process. So, that was a key finding or a key observation that we made. Then we started to look a little bit deeper. So of the 30% of the folks who actually submitted the application, what were some of the other employment barriers that they ran into? And we found that a lot of them struggled with completing this written assessment test that we usually give all of our applicants. And really that test is to gauge technical and writing skills, their ability to, think on the job and make quick decisions, because that's what they need to do. When we send our operators out every day, they are in their own office. We give them a lot of independence. So we need to make sure that they have the right skills to serve customers and make decisions independently to a great extent. And then we also, of course, like I think many of us, we get nervous when we do interviews. So we found that there was also a small percentage of folks who would clam up and not be able to get through that interview process. So those were some of the observations that we came across when we talked with labor, and we tapped on an organization called California Transit Works. They're a nonprofit. They do a lot of work around the state in terms of building high road training partnerships between agencies, transit agencies, and local colleges. And so they helped kind of help us understand the data and lift that data, bring it to the colleges, and see how we could work together to deal with some of these front door challenges. We also found, I want to also highlight the last point here. We found that we hire a lot of folks from from priority populations, but a lot of the priority populations we were hiring from are about an hour to 2 hours away. And I know that we have a few priority populations within Sonoma and Marin County. So that was another observation in terms of doing a little bit more to tap into more local communities and bringing our talent closer, sort of reducing that commute time between work and home. So anyhow, if we can go to page 3. So as we looked, page 3 of the presentation, that is, of the attachment. So as we went through the process and we that research process and the data analysis process, and we made those observations, we came to the conclusion that some real solutions that we think had merit were the actions that are listed here. We saw that there was a need to provide greater, a higher touch approach to the application process, a more one-on-one kind of approach to the application process. And we needed to find a way to deal with the written test, basically the skills assessment test. We thought that there had to be another way to assess skills without putting them through, a high stress sort of testing environment with 50 people around them, and timing them. And then another way to deal with the interview process. We also noticed, because of the higher number of people of color applying for these jobs, that providing some bilingual support as they went through the application process would be helpful. We also came to terms with the fact that we needed to revisit our minimum qualifications, and I'll go into that in a future slide. And then providing exposure to the workplace we thought might be helpful, especially around retention, because we're finding that some folks who actually got to the training program didn't complete the training program when they got there. So creating a way to expose our applicants or our trainees or pre-trainees, I should say, or pre-apprentices, to the work environment we thought would be helpful. And then leaning on our relationships with community-based organizations in terms of finding talent, and helping us work through challenges like language challenges, we thought would be valuable. So we go to page, I think it's 6, the pre-apprenticeship program with the Santa Rosa Junior College. So I talked about the actions on the last slide that we thought would be good solutions, and that's how we came up with the pre-apprenticeship program. And that's how our relationship with the Santa Rosa Junior College evolved. They stepped up and they agreed to help shape a program that would allow us to perform the actions that I talked about earlier, the one-on-one support for the application process, helping us assess skills and build skills that are needed to succeed in the bus operator position, and then also integrate ways to expose our pre-apprentices or our trainees to workplace issues. So the pre-apprenticeship program, and I put at the top the outreach specialist. That's probably one of the key components of the pre-apprenticeship program. We have basically a full-time outreach specialist connected to this program, and that person goes out into the community, goes to high schools, goes to community-based organizations, works with the colleges and all of their friends, so to speak, to build momentum around the program and to advocate for the program and make the community aware of the opportunities available at the district in terms of employment. And she works proactively with those groups to find talent. And we're already into our second cohort. And in fact, we just graduated a second cohort. So when we start the new training program, we'll probably see about 10 to 12 pre-apprentices enter our training program. But that is what the outreach specialist does. And that's probably one thing that we never had before we initiated this program, was someone dedicated to going out into the communities, building those relationships and finding us talent. So that is a key component, a very special program, or a special element of this program. Overall, it's a 12-week program. A lot of it is virtual classes that are led by a Santa Rosa Junior College instructor. And our mentors also play a role in those classes. They go in and they do interactive exercises with the pre-apprentices. And that's when we start to get to know the pre-apprentices. That is our interview. Our interview starts in those classes. So we watch for engagement. We watch for how they interact with us. And then we also have a practicum that's led by my staff. So our training director, our operations director, our bus operator apprenticeship coordinator, they will actually teach classes and actually give them real life experiences so that they know exactly what to expect when they become a bus operator. So we start those classes during this 12-week program, and that essentially is the interview process. So that is our way of trying to get over that employment barrier, that barrier to employment that has traditionally been a problem for some of our applicants. And then the pre-apprenticeship program is meant to be a seamless connection into our apprenticeship program. And another nice perk about this is the fact that when they complete it, they get $1,000. And that covers, we see that as a way to cover the cost of them visiting the facility. So we actually have them spend 3 days with us, and they get to sit behind the wheel of a bus. They get to meet their fellow bus operators. They get to sit in the training class that they would be sitting in when they become an apprentice. So we actually give them that experience to help contextualize as well what they're learning in the classroom. And so that bonus is meant to hopefully cover any lost wages or any childcare costs associated with them spending time with us on site. On page 7, basically it's, we talk about the employment barriers. Again, it's summarizing the employment barriers that we're trying to overcome through these programs. We incorporate the application process in the pre-apprenticeship. They will not be able to graduate from the pre-apprenticeship program unless they finish that application process. And we have an instructor, we have mentors, we have human resources staff working actively with each pre-apprentice to make sure that they complete that application. We waive the written test. So because they're taking classes and we're working with them, every week to assess their skills and help them build skills, there's no need for a test. So we waive that for our pre-apprentices. And then the interview process, as I mentioned, when we meet with them every week during class, that is the interview process. So that program has done, is doing a wonderful job of helping us kind of break through employment barriers to employment that have traditionally been a problem for us in terms of getting people through the front door. And I also want to just, again, thank all of you for your commitment to racial equity and ending systemic racism, because that was really our jumping off point for building these programs. And so the work that we're doing in terms of looking for talent in priority populations, creating that connection to employment, to union represented employment, and then also building skill sets, and then creating that pathway to higher education. Really, that is real key components or key ways that we're trying to carry out the direction from the board in terms of advancing racial equity and social justice. And so moving on to page 8, I had touched on earlier the fact that when we were going through our data analysis, we stopped and paused and thought about the minimum qualifications that we have for our bus operators. And so just to highlight, so when someone applies to become a bus operator, there are minimum qualifications as with any job. But there were some minimum qualifications that we thought, well, do they really need these things to be successful as a bus operator? At the top of the list here is the high school diploma. You really, when it comes down to it, when a good bus operator needs to simply have the ability to make safe decisions when they're driving a bus. They need to be able to have good reading and writing skills so that when I issue a operating bulletin on how to safely drive down Van Ness, I need them to be able to understand that. And if they get into an accident, I need them to be able to write up a report and tell me what happened. So, but you don't always need a high school diploma to do that. So when we hire or when we admit pre-apprentices, we do ask about whether or not they have a high school diploma. If they don't, that's okay. And we will find another way to assess their technical reading and writing skills. And we've worked actively with the College of the Santa Rosa Junior College, and we've also worked closely with the Canal Alliance and with our Human Resources Department to make sure that we are still doing what we need to do to assess their technical reading and writing skills, but not to the point where we're creating a barrier. So we've come up with a sort of another way. And when we administer the test, the assessment test, we actually have a mentor sitting there with them. So they will answer questions. They will make sure that that whoever's taking the test is clear about what we're looking for. If they need bilingual support, there's someone there who can translate into a different language, because at the end of the day, I just need to understand whether or not they have the right skills to make good decisions when they're performing their jobs. We also, when you apply for a bus operator position, you need to have had 7 years of driving experience under your belt. We waive that for our pre-apprentices. Basically, we say you just need 3 years of driving experience if you want to become a pre-apprentice. So if you got your driver's license at 16, you basically can become a bus operator here at Golden Gate Transit when you're 19. And that creates more of a connection between high school and employment, and that cuts down that time of not having a connection to a family, a good union represented job. We also waive the moving violations requirement. Essentially, if you have 2 or more moving violations, we would not allow you to get through the front door. Basically, we've created a way where we just take a pause and we talk about it before we outright say no. So essentially, we realized that there was a need to revisit that, those MQs, to also further reduce the number of barriers to employment. So as I mentioned earlier, our pre-apprenticeship program feeds into our apprenticeship program with the College of Marin, and that is what's before you today is our MOU with the College of Marin to, again, expand our apprenticeship program. A couple years ago, we worked with the Federal Department of Labor to establish a bus operator apprenticeship program that they certified. We would like to also make that program a state certified program and establish this relationship with the College of Marin, who will serve as our local educational agency, which is a requirement by the state, and that will then allow our apprentices to earn college credit as they complete their program. Another thing I want to mention, in order for them to earn college credit, our own instructors need to be college faculty. And so that is that is actually one aspect of the program that has been very popular with the operators. And we see that as another way to retain talent within the organization. It's an opportunity to grow our operators. It's another designation for them. Not only our bus operator instructors, bus operators and instructors from Golden Gate Transit, but now they will also be College of Marin faculty. And a lot of them see that as a very valuable aspect of their job. And in order to be college faculty, you need to have 12 college credits. For those instructors that who do not have those 12 college credits, we're actually allowing them to take part of their day or use part of their day to go to college and earn those credits. So that's another professional growth opportunity for our bus operators. And lastly, I can't end without talking about the partnerships we have with the Canal Alliance and with our mentors. Those are really key aspects of our retention efforts. The Canal Alliance comes in and they support all of the pre-apprentices and the apprentices with immigrant backgrounds. They will provide ESL support. They will provide other wraparound support like rental assistance or any other things that they may need to make sure that they stay focused on their jobs. And then our mentors, of course, that one-on-one support that they provide all of our new employees. That is another way that we also another way that we are using. We're using that way to help better support our operators, make them feel comfortable in the work environment, and we see that as a way to better retain our employees. And so tying back to the MOU, again, what's before you is an informational item. I just basically want to let you know that we're entering into this partnership with the College of Marin, and once this MOU is signed, we'll continue to proceed forward with implementing our bus operator apprenticeship program with them. And so with that, Madam Chair, thank you for your patience, and I'm willing to take any questions.
Great report, really exciting. I want to ask staff if they have any comments. I think, Dennis, did you want to make a comment before we move
Thanks,
to?
Madam Chair. Kudos to Mona, her team, and all the partners, ATU Local 1575, the community colleges, California Transit Works. It's in the written report. Mona didn't mention it, but they successfully received $1 million worth of grants to pay for all this, including our staff time when our staff are teaching at the community colleges. $500,000 for College of Marin, $500,000 for Santa Rosa Community College, but it pays for our efforts as we implement this program. So kudos to them. And then separately, on March 31st, the Canal Alliance issued a press release announcing they'd received over $500,000 to support this and other programs. And in their press release, they had a lovely quote from Mona. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Dennis. That's wonderful. I think I saw her. Yes,
Thank
Director
you.
Sabrina.
Thank you very much. Mona, this was absolutely echo all of what's been said by Dennis and Sabrina. Absolutely wonderful. So many enhancements and so much coming together. The Canal Alliance, just a gem. I'm so glad that you got that partnership. They're just such a treasure in our community. Jewel, just like the Golden Gate Bridge District. Great, great job. I'm also assuming that this would lead as a pathway to other management positions for these wonderful people that have come to us through this program. And that's all good. It just enhances all of those other levels. And I'm going to take this whole packet and copy it.
Okay.
So thank you. Take it back to my own place. Good. Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gabriel. Yes, Mr. President.
One of the things I appreciate particularly is the substitution of pre-apprenticeship completion for the high school diploma requirement. We had a real difficulty in our ironworker apprenticeship with the original requirement for either a GED or a high school diploma. GEDs are hard to obtain for a variety of reasons, and high school diplomas, given that a lot of the workforce, the existing workforce that we were trying to serve, was a cross-border workforce, and high school diploma graduation rates in portions of Latin America are even less than they are here. And we would accept a high school diploma from any country outside of the U.S. With notarization, but even then it was hard to get candidates that fulfill that requirement. But I think we probably lost out on a lot of very good candidates as a result of that. So I think that's great that you've managed to substitute pre-apprenticeship for that.
Yes, Mona, I want to thank you so much for that report. And can I say, I just love you. That's amazing. Creating this type of apprenticeship program with the College of Marin and with Santa Rosa Junior College is exactly, the types of things that I've heard from this board in terms of trying to end systemic racism and looking at how can we attract more drivers. And, traditionally and historically, it has been written tests that have prevented very qualified people from receiving a job offer or being able to even fill out, the written portion. I was very moved that, the front door challenges, you mentioned 67% of applicants could not submit an application. And you saw that it was Asian, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders, and Hispanic applicants that had struggled the most. And by switching up and removing some of these barriers, you're not only opening opportunities, but you're working to try to reverse the tide of systemic racism. It's often these tests that have been a roadblock. The program itself is amazing. Allowing college credit for this apprenticeship program is a path to higher education, which I think is amazing. And then having our own staff certified as instructors is also great. And then on top of that, the grant funding. So when I said I love you, I really do. And this is just an amazing program. So thank you so much. This is exactly what I've heard that the board wants and staff. So thank you, and the leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Steen. Yes,
It's hard to see.
hi, Bert. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, just for curiosity, do you include these people and have to the rodeos and things like that, so they see how we work together, how much fun it can be, and that sort of thing?
The next time we have a class that kind of coincides with our rodeo, we would love for them to do their shadow day, hopefully on that day. Yeah.
I had some from the past you brought to the last one we had, but that's and I encourage anyone on the board to actually attend it also. It's just a really fun time.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? I'll just say thank you very much. I'd like to echo all the comments that my colleagues have made today. It's really, really impressive. It's just amazing the level of organization and thought that went into this very comprehensive program, thinking of everything. Congratulations to you, and thank you to all of the other folks that you mentioned, HR, ATU 1575, leadership and members for stepping up and taking on those additional roles. All of the community partners, all of the nonprofit that we've been working with, Community College District, Santa Rosa. I mean, it's just an amazing amalgamation of groups of people. I see you want to say something.
No,
Please go ahead.
it's been a team effort. It's been a lot of work, and I also want to recognize Kim and his legal team. They played a huge role in making sure that as we've been changing district processes, we've been doing it all legally.
As we would hope. The building trades has probably the longest history with establishing apprenticeships of any organization or industry, and there are things that we are just learning now after many, many years. One of them being the secret sauce of working with community-based organizations and providing robust pre-apprenticeship training programs, doing that level of partnering to have folks be ready to serve an apprenticeship. So just applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's an amazing achievement that you've gotten to this point. And I think, to Bert's comment, I think Director Tier and I were at the Bus Drivers Appreciation Day. We both got to drive a bus that day. But one of the other things that we got to do, I think, was meet the first graduating cohort. There were 5 or so folks there, and that was really, really exciting. And just to meet them, shake their hands, look in their eyes when they were talking, with the reflection of this optimism for their future. Of this opportunity to, have a job that pays well, an important skill that is just theirs, that they're going to have the rest of their lives, to be able to provide for their families. It was really, really quite moving, and so it was wonderful to be there that day and be able to see the result, the true result of the individuals benefiting from this effort, and there'll be many, many more to come, and that's really exciting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the support. Yeah.
So colleagues, this item does not require any action, but I'd like to ask at this time, Madam Secretary, is there any public comment coming from any of our various locations?
We do not have a speaker in the room, and I want to just let everyone welcome David. David did join us. David Pilpel's in the back of the room. He's not speaking under rules, but I'm going to ask Justine to poll the public line just to see if there's any speakers, because during Mona's presentation, a number of people did join the line. So Justine, go ahead and poll the room.
Thank you. Good morning. Is there anyone who's on the public line this morning that would like to speak? Please use ** to unmute yourself and let me know. This is for item 3, and I'm polling for item 4 as well. Public comment.
Hello, Justine. It's Jim Maston.
Good morning, Dr.
And
Martin. You'd wish to make
and
a comment as a
not
member of the
on
public?
not on this item, but I thought I'd let you know that on GAPI item number 3, I'd like to make a comment.
I'll be polling for that shortly. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Is there anyone who's on the line this morning that would like to speak on the rules item 3 or under public comment 4? Please
John
use
Holden.
star. Hi, John. John Holden.
Yes.
For this item, John, or just
Yes.
under public comment? Okay.
This item.
Okay, thank you. Give me one moment. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak this morning? Please use star to unmute yourself and let me know. I'm polling for this item and for public comment, the next item. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody else, just John Holden this morning.
Go ahead, Mr.
One
Holden.
moment. There you go.
Hi, good morning. My name's John Holden. I'm a bus operator at the Golden Gate Transit, a native San Franciscan, and I applaud Mona and her staff's effort in getting this grant funding for this important DEI piece that Golden Gate really needs. I just have one concern about the barriers of employment where the two violations and the age. It would be great if the district at Golden Gate had a robust safety program, but in my opinion, it does not have a robust safety program. And so the thought of giving my 19-year-old son a bus, big MCI, to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge is a little frightening to me. So I would I would say that in support of this program, there needs to be a much more robust safety and a disciplinary piece in place to ensure the public safety. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those comments. Was that, Justine, I believe you said there was just one speaker?
We have just the one speaker for this item, that's correct.
All right, thank you very much. Having concluded then the entirety of public comment for both items 3 and 4, I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. One of those is a second. Is there anyone that objects to our adjourning this meeting at this time? Seeing none, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.